Alrighty, welcome back. You're in part 2 of our series on DreamCon company documents, how to create them, how to write them, how to format them, and how to style them. This is part 2 on how to write well. So if you missed part 1, check out the link in the description below, and let's get started. So, assuming you did complete part 1, you've already got a nice blank page here, as well as you have our guide to writing company documents saved in a separate tab. So let's take a look at some core principles on how to write good company documents. Now, first of all, one big caveat here is that people spend their entire life learning how to be good writers. So we're just giving you a little brief introduction here and trying to squeeze as much as we can into the next few minutes. So keep in mind there's lots more to learn about this topic. But essentially you can boil it down to, or we think you can boil it down to a few relatively straightforward ideas. And one of the first things is that we want to keep things simple and clear. So use direct, simple language when you can. Don't use a enormous word when a smaller word will do, like big. Don't use super long sentences when a shorter sentence will do. And that will help keep things easier to understand and follow along with. Second thing is use a conversational tone, just the way that I'm speaking to you right now. I don't know who you exactly are that's watching this, but the way that I'm thinking about it is I'm imagining that I'm speaking just to one person as opposed to a large group of people. And I do think that that's the best way to write as well. Keep an audience of one in your mind and describe it to them just like you might be talking to them. And don't assume that that person has any prior knowledge of the subject matter. You want to make sure to explain things in a way that everybody can understand up front without having to have a whole bunch of previous knowledge, if at all possible. And if you do need to use technical terms, make sure to define them or provide hyperlinks to that people can do additional research on something and then come back. And the next thing is we want to make sure our document is as legible and easy to read as possible. That means using a lot of negative space, so you're not trying to squeeze everything into tiny little huge blocks of text. That sounded like an oxymoron, but I mean that the font is tiny and the block of text is huge. So we want to make sure to have spaces, use lists like bullet points or numbered lists when you can. Avoid really long run-on sentences and chop up your paragraphs so that they're shorter and that you make them into little digestible bite-sized chunks as opposed to really big, again, blocks of text. If you can, and if it helps, use visual aids, photos, diagrams, illustrations, or like I'm doing right now with this video. It's a visual aid so that I can show you the actual process and you can see what it looks like as opposed to just describing it. Sometimes picture does paint 1,000 words and it can be very, very useful. We're going to get into structure, a whole set of structure next, but basically we do want your document to be organized well, basically put together in a way that makes sense. And we'll talk about more of that in a second. And once you've got it all done, make sure to test your policy. Show it to somebody who has no knowledge at all about the subject. Have them read through it, see if they can understand it. That's very important. And if you can, hopefully there's somebody who does have some knowledge about the subject who can give you more specific feedback on like what you might need to explain better or what might be missing or something that might be incorrect. Okay, so back to structure. It's really important to think when you're writing your document to think about how you want to split it up. All right, so for example, if I am doing like in a little test document here, how to brush your teeth, if I put in the title, this is going to be pretty simple. All right, get toothbrush, add toothpaste, brush for 30 seconds minimum. I think it's 30 seconds. Rinse, spit. That's the fun part. And put away toothbrush, and then repeat twice a day or more. All right, so pretty simple. And then if I'm organizing this, I'm going to make this into a title just by clicking on that there. And I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to highlight this and turn it into a list. So let's see, I could put bullet points, but I think this makes more sense as a numerical list. So I'm going to make it with numbers because we have a particular order that's important. And then I'm just going to add some spaces because we like spaces. I'll get into more of that later as we copy a document from another source and put it here and reformat it. And let's take another example. The nice thing about our built-in structure here is that it makes an outline, a table of contents on the side that's actually clickable. You can click all the way and go to the top or go down to the bottom. And so I'm going to go right here to, let's see, core principles, and then just slide down to structure. So you can see this company document is arranged with 4 main sections: how to create, how to write, how to format, and how to style. And there might be a lot of different ways I could have structured this. Maybe there's some that might be better, but this is the one that I thought was best. And so it's going to be up to you to pick the best organization for your topic. Think about how you want to split it up. What are the main sections? Each of those sections, if they require subsections, then they're going to have their own separate heading. We're going to get into that in the next video. And then if you want to split it up more, you're probably going to be using bullet points or lists. So that is how to write. Like I said, lots more to that, but that's all we're going to get into for now. If we do have a link to additional resources, I'll put it in the link below or in the document later on. So thank you again very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one in part 3. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.